If you are new to the desert Southwest and the Grand Canyon, this video will give you some ideas about what to not be worried about and what you might be concerned with when hiking in this area. The things you should and should not be afraid of may not be obvious to you. For instance, falls and injuries are something you should be worried about. Heat and dehydration you should be worried about. And in some cases, rodents and bees are something that you might want to be concerned with. On the other hand, things like bears and mountain lions really are not an issue. Many people are afraid of large animals like bears and mountain lions. Both of these exist in the desert Southwest. However, deer are your only likely encounter in the Grand Canyon. There are mountain lions there, but few people ever see them. Bear are more common in the mountain regions. Pictured here is some fresh scat from a bear in the Chiricahua Mountains. Bears are found where their food is. In this case, this is manzanita-filled scat. If you see manzanita or other berries while hiking in the desert Southwest, be on the lookout for bears. In this case, this was the footprint of a mountain lion that had passed through a few days before I hiked through this area. The Grand Canyon corridor campsites have ammo boxes for storing your food. You should keep your food in there at all times, even when you're in camp, due to the rodents who love to steal food from picnic tables. I use an ursack or a bear-proof sack for off-corridor hiking. It protects against rodents too. Bear prevalent sites in the desert Southwest may have bear boxes for protecting your food, like here in Saguaro National Park. The biggest issue you'll run into is nuisance critters. Ravens, mice, and pack rats are very prevalent. Make sure you use a bug net enclosed tent when you're hiking in populated areas where there's going to be lots of rodents. Mice carry hantavirus, and kissing bugs can carry chagas. What about things that sting? A lot of people who are new to the desert Southwest worry about things like scorpions and rattlesnakes. Things that sting are an issue, but you're probably worried about the wrong ones. Snakes are fairly prevalent in the desert Southwest, like this gopher snake that I came across in the Superstition Mountains. Occasionally, you will come across a rattlesnake in this part of the country. In this case, I encountered a black-tailed rattler in the Chiricahua Mountains. He was not happy to see me, but he did a great job of letting me know he was there, and all you have to do is give them a wide berth. Scorpions are scarce in the Grand Canyon, and much more prevalent in areas that have more water and brush for their protection. Again, the bug net on your tent will protect you from most scorpions. Gila monsters are scary looking and are poisonous in reality, but you can consider yourself lucky if you ever see one. Most residents of Arizona rarely see one in their lifetimes, and they're so slow-moving and are really quite uninterested in you. Some stinging things you should be worried about. I'm not a big fan of the Africanized bees. They kill several people in the desert Southwest every year. If you come across a cloud of bees, as shown outside of my office window, run like hell. Because of the Africanized bees, I no longer carry pre-mixed Gatorade because it seems to attract them. I carry powder and mix what I use and then immediately drink it, so I don't have any sweet, sticky liquids with me as I'm hiking. Ants can be an issue. They sting. Don't pitch your tent in a bare circle in a grassy area. Chances are there's an anthill in the middle of it. Velvet ants are really wingless wasps. Their sting really hurts, so avoid them at all costs. Don't pick them up. What about spiders? Tarantulas are really harmless critters. The spider wasps that prey on tarantulas and other members of the species have painful stings, but they rarely bother human beings. How about cactus? Just avoid them. Don't brush up against them. Their fine bristles can easily get embedded in your lower legs. Don't believe the myths that you saw in cowboy movies when you were a kid. You can't get water from them either. It's really quite toxic. What about illegals in the area? Encounters are extremely rare and almost unheard of in the Grand Canyon. You really don't have to worry about them. They're not interested in you whatsoever. They want to avoid you. Some things that aren't critters you should be worried about. One of them is falling. I had an experience a couple of years ago with a scramble up Push Peak near Tucson with a good friend of mine. He slipped and fell and started log rolling down the mountain. The dead agave at right is what stopped his fall. Things could have been a lot worse. Bottom line, be careful of falls. I love to hike in the Grand Canyon in the wintertime, but the trails can be pretty icy. The solution? Use trekking poles, and also use traction cleats or yak tracks if you're expecting snow and icy conditions. If you hike off corridor in areas like the Grand Canyon, there's going to be some steep sections on the trail where you can't just walk down. If you come across a situation like this, use your head. Battage can be very useful. Your pants won't last forever, so put them to good use and slide down on your butt. Water can be an issue in the desert Southwest. Sometimes there's just too much of it during monsoon season. Flash floods are serious business. Here's an example of a flash flood right near my house in Tucson. Bottom line, know the forecast before you enter a slot canyon. Flash floods can occur even if it's raining miles and miles away from where you're hiking. If you're in or around the Grand Canyon, don't attempt to swim the Colorado. Quite a few people have lost their lives trying to do this. It's just a raging torrent. In the summertime, you have to worry about the heat and not having enough water. Make sure you bring twice as much water as you think you might use, because you're going to burn through it really quickly in the hot weather. And remember, it's hotter at the bottom of a canyon than it is at the top. In addition to bringing extra water, keep it accessible so you can get a drink as often as you possibly can. Let's summarize. What you should be concerned with is, number 1, falls. Avoid edges or drop-offs and use trekking poles to prevent slips and falls. Number 2, dehydration and heat. Hike early or late in the day during the summer, bring water with you, and seek shade if you overheat. Number 3, drowning or flash floods. Don't swim in places like the Colorado River, and avoid slot canyons if it looks like it might rain. Last but not least are the nuisance issues, the critter attacks from things like scorpions. Use a tent with a bug net and protect your food from the critters. Thanks for watching. If you found this video useful, subscribe to my channel, click like on this particular video, or leave a comment.